Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the debut album from Ekali, A World Away. Ekali is a Canadian DJ and producer specializing in the realms of future bass and trap. There has been a lot of hype behind this guy for a while now. I feel like for the last few years he's made an appearance on pretty much every major festival lineup. I myself, however, had a really hard time understanding the hype for a while. For me, the stuff of his that I came across seemed to be pretty run-of-the-mill for his genre, and that's really the main reason why you haven't seen me do a full-scale review of his music up to this point. I mean, if there's nothing that stands out to me, either good or bad, what am I going to talk about for 10 minutes? I did, however, feature Ekali in one of my rapid-fire review videos for his Crystal Eyes EP, a project that I wouldn't say I absolutely adored by any stretch, but will admit that it was a good step forward for Ekali, showcasing his abilities to provide some variation in his music, as well as weaving in a good degree of unique textures. So when Ekali announced A World Away, I pretty much decided beforehand that I was going to have to review this album, not only because of how much I liked Crystal Eyes, but because he's a big enough deal that it's kind of strange that I haven't covered his music in a full video up to this point. So I guess the big question, as always, is, did I actually enjoy this album? And in short, I'd probably say there's a lot of great things about this project and a lot of not so great things. On this album's upside, it's at least a pleasant listen. There's nothing so ear-wrenchingly awful or like mind-numbingly repetitive as we've seen in a lot of EDM albums over the last few years. I'm looking at you, Joytime 2. The production is really, really good, which definitely caught me off guard to some degree. Ekali does an excellent job filling out the audio spectrum with little details. A lot of the detailing that I really enjoy on this album comes in the form of world music influences on several different tracks. Reminds me a lot of why I liked Sarawak by Slumberjack so much. Similarly to the song Athena from that Slumberjack EP, we get some really great tight snare rolls on songs like Be Fine and Hard to Say Goodbye from A World Away. A song on this album that I think does an exceptionally good job weaving in those world music influences is the album's first track, Fairy Tale with Elohim, with its slow, intense beat and battle-ready jungle drums, actually reminding me a lot of Alon Moore's Lands of Delight album, which is a fantastic project that came out last year that you should absolutely not miss, blending together with some heavily side-chained saws that kind of give it an Illenium feel. This track also containing some of the best lyricism, in my opinion, on the entire album, of course coming from Elohim, with her lyrics having a very bipolar feel to them, on one side saying life is a fairy tale, and on the other side saying, except when I'm broken in pieces bleeding, except I'm crying for safety screaming. To reiterate, one of the reasons I really enjoy Elohim's stuff is that she's not afraid to talk about these mental health issues, and I think this track makes an especially good opener for the album because I know Ekali was going through some mental health struggles himself during the last couple years. Unfortunately, the album doesn't really get any better from that point. Like I said before, it's not a bad listen by any stretch, but it doesn't really, again, hit the bar that Fairy Tale sets right at the very beginning of the album for the remainder of its track list. Of course, there are a few more moments on the album that I did really enjoy, songs that capture great atmospheres comprised of really thoughtful textures, along with super clean production, but then again, a lot of these moments come in context with these songs that don't really have any kind of vocal distracting from what Ekali is doing in the production. Songs like Braids, Cage, and Faithless. A lot of these songs, beyond those aforementioned textures and the great production, really just remind me of a blend of Flume, crane and maybe a little bit of Elenium, and not necessarily the best elements of those producers either. You've even got Runaway, which literally sounds like it could have been a B-side from Flume's Skin album and features Rio Craigun, who Flume just dropped an EP with last year, with Craigun dropping an inspiring verse about finishing the race and not being afraid and making change. Feels like a very half-baked track, especially following the momentum that Fairy Tale set. Also, despite how much I like Faithless with its vibrant instrumental palette and its Japanese music influence, can't help but feel a little perturbed with Ekali on this song because one of the melodies literally sounds like it was ripped directly from Fellow Feeling by Porter Robinson. In fact, my first time listening through this song, I thought it sounded so much like Fellow Feeling that I literally thought it was a sample, and I researched it, and I ended up finding out that not only does it officially sample Fellow Feeling, Ekali denied it being influenced by the song at all, saying something along the lines of like, I can't do anything with orchestral vibes without being compared to Porter. But it's not the orchestral influence. Porter Robinson wasn't the first EDM artist to infuse orchestral elements. It's the fact that the melody is literally nearly identical. Some of you might try to argue and say, no, they don't sound anything alike. But I say, the proof is in the pudding.
Nah, bro, it doesn't sound anything like Porter, bro. It's just orchestral vibes, man.
On a different note, I feel like the vocal appearances on this album are generally pretty average for electronic dance music. I feel like Ekali could have done a lot more on Drown, as the instrumental backing up Aura doesn't really do all that much to bring out her voice. And on Hard to Say Goodbye, I feel like it does do a somewhat good job of showcasing Chloe Angelide's vocal talents, but kind of falls flat in the lyric writing front, with Chloe singing about a subject that's already been covered in so many Illenium songs at this point. Hold On, Crashing, basically trying to get out of a bad relationship but not being able to find the strength to, so you end up in their bed once again. And then the chorus lyrically just being completely empty. The lyrics are literally, you make it hard to say goodbye, you make it hard to say goodbye, and I don't want to say goodbye. You make it hard to say goodbye. On the bright side, at least, the song has some of those signature Illenium elements that I really enjoy. The emo guitar, the big, powerful chords in the drop, the Odessa-like vocal chops. Back to You is another somewhat enjoyable cut, though I think Kiara's vocals sound pretty average on this song. At least the vocals are nothing offensive, and they do go together with the instrumental pretty nicely. Once again sounding very Flume-inspired, though a bit less than Runaway, and I do enjoy a lot of the detailing on the song, like the chimes. I think were a really cool addition. And then the last one that I want to mention is Power, the collaboration with Nitty Gritty, which is a bit of an oddball on this album's track list, really being the only dubstep cut on the entire project. Definitely sounds like it was made in mind with having like a big heavy intro to start off, you know, Ekali's DJ sets with. It's got one of those kind of heavy yet minimal style dubstep drops that are really popular right now, and while I don't have a problem with that, it feels like Ekali and Nitty Gritty spend so much time building atmosphere, building tension. In fact, it's like over half the track is just them like building up to the drop, and then the drop doesn't seem like it has all that great of a payoff. I definitely don't dislike this song, but at the same time I feel like it could have done so much more. And as I continue to close my thoughts on this album, I think that's a good way to describe most of this project. I just feel like it could have been so much more. Evidenced by this album and Crystal Eyes, Ekali is obviously a great producer with a ton of potential, and clearly the ability to be able to provide a lot of variation and uniqueness, but I would much rather see him take those skills and be able to adapt them into his own kind of unique style rather than riding the coattails of everybody he's inspired by. Like I said before, I think this album is a very pleasant listen. There aren't too many moments that I think it just completely falls flat, and if you've never heard a Future Bass album before, you'll probably find a lot of enjoyment in this project, but for me, it's not something that I can really see myself coming back to all that much in the future beyond Fairy Tale. A lot of the things that I really liked about this album can also be found on Sarawak, so I'm much more likely to just listen to that EP considering it's shorter and just as varied, while also being a little bit more genuine considering Morgan Then is from the jungle and Ekali is from, British Columbia. But regardless, I would probably say this album is worth a listen just for the value of the production, and that's pretty much all I have to say about it. For A World Away, I am feeling a strong 5.5 out of 10. As always, if you guys haven't listened to this album yet and you would like to, I have the Spotify link down in the description below. And if you'd like to, let me know your thoughts on the album down in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel and you want to see more content like this, make sure to consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave me a like. Anyway, I'm Landon Remixes, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.